What up, everybody?
What's
It is,
going on, everybody?
yeah. We will also have Free with us here in just a minute. He said he's going to be a couple of minutes. That's all right. As
I
you can
wasn't
see, what's on. Go
I
ahead.
wasn't I wasn't planning on going live again today. I'm like, man, you promised that you was gonna cover everything that was Trump. So, when you hit me with that text message, I got up because I was enjoying a nice evening with my wife and we was watching this show called From, and it's the last episode. And I'm like, oh babe, I gotta go. She's like, you gotta go? I'm like, I gotta go.
I gotta go. No, this one's going to be huge. If we want to know anything about the decisions that he's been making over the last 48 hours, we need to hear from him as much as possible. So the press conference yesterday, his interview with Hannity tonight. So everybody needs to hear this. And so in that note, everybody knows what I'm going to say in the comments. Let's just get it started. Go ahead and share this out. You can see on the screen over here. I hate this layout. I got to really redo it because it's on the wrong side. But share it out so we can get everybody in here and we can watch this. We're going to talk about what Hannity is going to bring up. Are these going to be softball questions? Is Trump going to just lay it all out? And in my opinion, by what we've seen, we will see Trump just lay it out.
Yeah,
He's just been doing that.
I'm
What
excited.
do you think, Cash?
I'm excited. I believe exactly that. He's just gonna lay it all out. You know, it's been a day. Today I went on a rant. I don't know if you seen my live earlier today, bro. I went on a rant because all the brothers is home. All the brothers and sisters from J6 is all home, and I see people coming out the woodworks that were a part of the J6 unselect committee talking crazy. So I'm like, oh no, I can't let this stand. So I had to come on and give my piece in it. I was really mad. I wanted to say a lot more than I said. And forgive me earlier, you guys. I'm really working on myself. I really am. But I used some language that probably, I shouldn't have used. But he invoked the real nigga in me, and I had to let it out.
Yeah, you don't have to apologize for language. Language is going to happen.
Yeah. So you don't see it here. I don't see it. It's the share button. It's a little arrow. It looks like a little arrow. You just click that, then it says share on YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube. Anyway, share it.
Yeah.
Yes. What up, dude?
Let it out.
Glad you're here.
What's up, coach? Hey, whatever happened to the angry Viking, bro?
I don't know.
That was my guy, man. Wonder what happened to him.
It's funny. Free and I have somebody that just disappeared too, that we were both friends with a while ago, and his ex name was Audit the States, and all of a sudden he just disappeared. Yeah. We stopped hearing from him. Like, we would DM each other and all kinds of things. It's like, oh yeah. Well,
in other news, I did an interview today. Well, first off, I woke up to a message saying, "Cash, you made the Hammond, Indiana Times." I said, "Oh, really? Send me the article." So I read it, and they were basically trying to get people to panic about the J6ers from our area that was getting pardoned.
You're all over Chicago news, dude.
Yeah. So I was in Chicago news. I was in Hammond news. I did an interview with the Northwest Indiana Times this morning, which we know how that went the last couple times, but I haven't learned my lesson. And plus they say all publicity is good publicity. So I'm like, I'm just going to do it. And I did it. So we'll see how that goes when the story gets put out there. And I gave zero regrets. She asked me, do you regret anything about that day? I said, no, I don't. I don't regret anything. I would do everything the exact same way, knowing the exact same results, because we shed light on the prison industry and what goes on inside there and the corruption. And I got to meet a whole bunch of fantastic people that I call brothers and crush a narrative about white supremacy that was being spread about people that were locked up due to January 6th. And she was just in shock and awe that I had no cares. And I said, and everybody that knows me, if you read this and you from the area, you know me. I don't like white supremacists. I don't like any kind of racists. And I put hands on people. I'm known for it. So you should know that if I'm telling you they're not white supremacists and I'm calling them my brothers, then I ain't got no ulterior motive. It's not like I get paid to say this. I'm just here telling the truth. So it was good. It was good. I gave a shout out to my bro Ryan. Gave a shout out to my bro Shane, Scott, Mike, Tim. I just shouted out a whole bunch of Jan Sixers that was in the Northwest Indiana Times, man. It was dope. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. When I was watching your live, I went and Googled your name and also your number, and just to see what was coming up. And yeah, I'm like, there's all kinds of Chicago news talking about all of these people that are going to be pardoned by Donald Trump. And I'm like, welcome to Illinois. Like,
yeah,
This is the media in Illinois. Like you are not spreading anything
Panic.
about this at all.
Panic, Chicago. They're back. They're on the loose.
Right.
They stormed our nation's capital. They're violent white supremacists, except for that guy. He's black, but Clayton Black, not Wesley Snipes Black in New Jack City. No, he's Clayton Bigsby Black. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Here's an important update. Did everybody get out? I don't think everybody is out of DC.
No, I believe no. Yeah, right now I guess the U.S. Marshals already showed up and they have released the J6 prisoners, hostages that they had. So
all
yeah,
of them?
everybody.
Because there was 7
what
that
I
was
understand.
questionable from other charges on if they were going to get out.
Oh, I don't know about that. I know that everybody who got the pardon that was supposed to be released is now released.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because yesterday there were 7 out of the 22 in DC that had questionable additional charges that they weren't
Like
confident in saying. Most of them are getting gun charges for having guns and stuff when they shouldn't.
But that's
But
still
not
federal, right?
That can be federal.
So why didn't if it's DC, it's got to be federal. If they had guns in DC, it's got to be a federal crime. So
Well-
that pardon should still cover that because they had a gun at the Capitol. Yes, I did get a pardon from my understanding. I did, Wendy, just to answer your question. Yeah, if it's not a state charge and it's a Fed charge, then yes, they should be let go.
Sure. I think at this point, with everything everybody's been put through, I don't care. And I think Trump feels that same way. He's like, these guys, that's his explanation every time. They served their time. They went through all of this for the last 4 years. Murderers don't even serve that sentence at times.
Mm-hmm.
So that's his argument. And when he says that, I'm like, that's a good point. So
Yeah.
I'll use that philosophy and apply that to everything else. And then every J6er should be released. I still want to see John Sullivan rot in prison, but that's my personal thing.
I don't think he got out, did he?
I think it's very likely if we're going to be pardoning everybody else, I think he got it.
No, I don't think so.
Because his is entering a Capitol building, a restricted building.
I don't know. I have to look. Believe me, if he was out, you would know. It'd be all over. He'd be all over X. He'd be all over X right now. He'd be all over Facebook. He'd be doing his thing.
Yeah, and I'm not hearing anything about him here right now. So the man. Oh, we'll wait for him to be ready. But right now, guys, we're going to be going over, share this out. We got 1 minute until Hannity and Trump are live. And so we'll go back to the different layout and might as well just jump to that right now. What up, Free?
This looks good. I like this. It's pretty
What
good.
is up,
This
guys?
looks better. Oh, we're
Yeah.
just going over some stuff with Trump and his interview with, who is it? Hannity?
Hannity
I like Hannity.
in the Oval Office.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. What about the great one, Mark Levin? You got an interview with him yet?
I'll be back in 1 sec.
All right.
You're good. Yeah, I'm honestly not a big Levin fan. I listen to him on Sirius when I'm driving around on Patriot Radio.
You don't know. Mark
Yeah.
Levin be cracking me up, bro.
No,
I
my
listen to him every day when I was locked up. Every single day. That's how I got my news, man. You
Yeah.
just hear the bias in his voice.
Well, they didn't do anything to Black Lives Matter when they were in the streets, but they're going after these guys.
Yo,
you have impressive impersonation skills because I don't. I can't.
yo, Mark Levin be going crazy, bro.
Oh yeah, he does.
I love him though. I can't lie. I love listening to him because he always has a different perspective.
He does. He does.
Yeah.
He does. I think I've had my bigger problem with Levin. I can't remember the topic, but he was really going at it, and I'm like, dude, you're actually in the wrong. And I hate to say this, but you're in the wrong. And he won't admit when he's wrong at times, especially when he's live on the radio.
Yeah.
And I struggle with that. But yeah.
What about Glenn
To
Beck?
each their own. Glenn Beck, I don't care. I'm getting out of the mainstream media. I trust much more independents than I do the big guys.
I like Glenn Beck.
Glenn Beck, he runs the Blaze, but here's the problem. Why does he keep losing good patriots working for him?
Well, he might be a jerk.
Then he's not running a good network.
Oh, is he telling the truth? All right, we got to stop. We got to stop. It's time. Let's do this.
Let's turn this on.
You walked back in this office, this desk, this
We
room,
got to turn it up.
your carpet. How'd you feel?
Well, it was a lot
It's
of
low.
work.
Do you believe that moment? People say to me, they see a change in you. Do you believe you?
That's
you
as high as it
changed?
goes.
Is
I was
this,
on
for
mute.
example, increased your faith in God?
Yes.
All these people, the Biden family members. Joe Biden ran and said he would never do preemptive pardons. It was an issue that came up when you were leaving in your first time.
He thought, he heard that I was going to do it. I didn't want to do it. I was given the option.
And welcome to Hannity, and buckle up for a very special show. After 4 long years, President Donald Trump is back where he belongs. He is in the Oval Office.
Same.
Earlier, the president,
I agree.
he did welcome us into the White House for an exclusive first interview in front of the Resolute desk. Mr. President.
Thank you.
Trying to wear his
back.
hair like
Thank you very
Trump. I
much.
just noticed that.
Let's talk about the moment you walked back in this office, this desk, this room, your carpet. How'd you feel?
Well, it was a lot of work. And as you know, I felt that we shouldn't have had to necessarily be here. Could have been done. A lot of work could have been, it would have been over. We wouldn't have inflation. We wouldn't have had the Afghanistan disaster. Wouldn't have October 7th with Israel, where so many people were killed. And you wouldn't have a Ukraine war going on. But with all that being said, I think it's bigger. It's bigger than if it were more traditional.
Only the second time in history
Yeah.
somebody didn't have consecutive terms.
Yeah. Well, they say it's historically bigger. I don't know about that. But I can say it showed us a couple of things. It showed us that the radical left, their philosophies and policies are horrible. They don't work.
Yep.
You look at crime, you look at what's gone on at the border, you look at what's going to happen, the crime that's going to happen. But I think we got there just in the nick of time. But we still have you covered better than anybody. We have terrorists in our country by the thousands. We have murderers in our country by the tens of thousands. We have numbers that came out, 11,000 people that murdered are now free and walking around in our country. And of them, I think 48%, they say, killed more than one person, and they're walking around. They came out of jails from other countries. And, people, they've emptied their jails. I would, if I were the president or prime minister or something of another country, I'd empty my jails right into America, into the United States. Why not? And many of them did it. If you look at Venezuela, their crime rate is down now 78% because they took their street gangs and they moved them into the United States. And you're seeing that in Colorado and Los Angeles and
He's
other
telling the truth.
places. And we're going to take care of it.
So did Biden really say to you when you came up to the front of the White House, welcome home?
No, did somebody say that?
I read it somewhere.
I don't know. Maybe
don't
he
remember?
did. I really don't know.
So you left him a letter. It was funny with Peter Ducey, and Peter said, "Oh, Mr. President, did Joe Biden leave you a
Yeah.
letter?" He did leave you a letter.
He did.
And you had left him one, but you've never disclosed either one of them.
Well, a lot of people.
Now would be a
think-
great time.
You know, it was interesting. A lot of people thought it was sort of like a setup with Peter Ducey and myself, and I have a lot of respect for Peter. But he just asked me a question about the letter. And then I remember that, it's like a custom, you leave it right in the drawer of that beautiful desk right alongside of us. And so I opened it up, and I actually gave the letter to Peter.
And did he got to read it?
I guess. I haven't.
You don't know
just
if you read it?
I just sent it to him a little while ago.
All right, before we get into, there's so much substance. You are inheriting a lot of problems, a lot of things that actually scare me. And I want to get to all of that, but I will get to all of that.
All solvable problems.
I
Let's
agree.
go.
They're all solvable.
Not easy.
With time, effort, money, unfortunately, but they're all solvable problems. We can get our country back. But if we didn't win this race, I really believe our country would have been lost forever.
Were there moments, I mean, when you think of what they threw at you, and I know you signed this declaration about no more weaponization, and we know that the preemptive pardons came up on Joe's way out, but you were facing a civil trial, a criminal trial, conviction, sentencing, Jack Smith, DC, Florida, Fonnie Willis. I mean, you fought through all of that to get back right here in this office. What people don't know is over there's a little red button you push. You scare people. People think it's the nuclear button, but it's really,
Something else.
it's you use it for a different purpose. But the question I have was, at any point, did you doubt you would be back here?
So it's a great question. It's something I don't think about. I never really thought about it. I don't think about, gee, will I be back? I just do it. I get it done. I get things done. I'm good at getting things done, and I set my mind to it. As you know, we had a great election in 2016. I had a much better election in 2020. And if I didn't have that election, I wouldn't have run. If I thought that I didn't get the number of votes, and it was reported that I got almost 75 million votes, and that was their numbers. That wasn't the numbers. That was their numbers. That was more than anybody has gotten in history, any sitting president had ever gotten. And you lost. Had I gotten like 50 million, or 40 million, or 60 million, I would never have run. But that was like a poll. So, but I had a different attitude. Too big to rig.
Poll came out just in the last 24 hours by Insider Advantage. That's Matt Towery. He nailed 2016, 2020,
Right.
and 2024. Great pollster, as you know.
Right.
And he gave you a 56% approval rating. He also said of Congress, and I had a town hall with members of Congress last night, that 70% of respondents want Congress to unite behind your agenda.
I watched that show. It was a great show. And you had some great people in the background.
Yeah.
I know every one of them. And they're really patriots. I just saw the love, as the speaker, who is doing a terrific job. The speaker is answering questions, and I saw the acknowledgement and the love they had. And those are tough people behind him. These are not easy people.
There are others that are tougher.
I said, well, I don't know. This is a tough group if they want to be. They're not, nobody much tougher. But they're very unified. I think they're going to do a great job.
But they have a small majority. You went through over 200 since we've got here. And we have breaking news today that we'll get to in a minute. And especially as it relates to the border and some other issues. But you're going to need to do some of these things legislatively. You will probably play the largest role in uniting them both in the House and Senate. Reconciliation, the Senate has very strict, rules governing how they can do it. Do you, one big beautiful bill, two bills, do you care at this point?
I don't care as long as we get to the final answer. I like the concept of the one bill. I guess I said one big beautiful, and that's what everyone faced. Actually, it's sort of a nice sound to it. But I do like that concept. It could be something else. It could be a smaller bill and a big bill.
Right.
But as long as we get to the right answer. Now, I will say that Los Angeles has changed everything because a lot of money is going to be necessary for Los Angeles. And a lot of people on the other side want that to happen. And
North Carolina, too.
Fast. Well, they don't care about North Carolina. The Democrats don't care about North Carolina. What they've done with FEMA is so bad. FEMA is a whole nother discussion because all it does is complicate everything. FEMA has not done their job for the last 4 years. I had FEMA working really well. We had hurricanes in Florida. We had Alabama tornadoes. But unless you have certain types of leadership, it gets in the way. And FEMA is going to be a whole big discussion very shortly because I'd rather see the states take care of their own problems. If they have a tornado someplace and let that state. Oklahoma is very competent. I love Oklahoma. 77 out of 77 districts. And that's never been done before. I did it 3 times. I mean, think of it, 3 times. Never been done. Ronald Reagan had the record, 56 out of 77. I got 77 out of 77. So you have to love a place like that. I love Oklahoma. But you know what? If they get hit with a tornado or something, let Oklahoma fix it. You don't need. And then the federal government can help them out with the money. The FEMA is getting in the way of everything. And the Democrats actually use FEMA not to help North Carolina.
It makes no sense.
So I'm stopping on Friday. I'm stopping in North Carolina, first stop, because those people were treated very badly by Democrats. And I'm stopping there. We're going to get that thing straightened out because they're still suffering from a hurricane
Helene.
from months ago. And then I'm going to go to California. I'll go
Will
to.
you meet with Gavin?
I don't know. I haven't even thought about it. Look, Gavin's got one thing he can do. He can release the water that comes from the north. There is massive amounts of water, rainwater and mountain water that comes due with the snow, comes down as it melts. There's so much water, they're releasing it into the Pacific Ocean. And I told him it's a political thing for the Democrats. I don't
played
know.
the tape. You said it to him in front of him in 2018.
I said it to him in front of the media and everything else, and nobody talks about it. The media never picks it up. You put it out. I was so happy to see that tape because some people said, is that possible? They have water coming down from the Pacific Northwest, which has a lot of water. So much water that they'd have to let some of it go at some point. They don't need reservoirs. They don't need any. They're spending all this money on these reservoirs, and they're fake reservoirs. You know,
But the
concrete.
reservoirs were empty. The hydrants didn't work, and they're not practicing the science of forestry, which
Their
is
sprinklers didn't work in the homes because they had no water. Think of it. We have sprinklers. Think of it with no water. They didn't have any water.
I
The
didn't know you
fire
had
hydrants,
sprinklers
yeah,
in
believe it, hard to believe. The place has sprinklers. It's nice. But you don't want to lose this office. By the way, how do you like it?
well, I'm glad. It's great to be back. I'm not going to lie.
You know, I've had the biggest people in the world come here,
Yeah.
and they come into the Oval Office, and they just look, and they want time to look. They're looking around. George
amazing.
Washington, Honest Abe.
One day, maybe we can do a tour. We had a conversation, and maybe I shouldn't disclose this, but I will. And it was after the 2020 election. And you asked me a question, and we've known each other for 30 years, so we have a friendship and we have a professional relationship. And the question you asked me, maybe in the end it will be better that if I came back in 4 years. And we talked about history. After World War II, Winston Churchill was thrown out, but they brought him back. Grover Cleveland is the only other American president that did not serve consecutive terms. And my answer to you was, I thought it would be bigger if you came back.
It's turning out to be bigger. And I think one thing is happening is people are learning that they can't govern and that their policies are terrible. I mean, they don't want to see a woman get pummeled by a man in a boxing ring.
No.
They don't want to see men in women's sports and otherwise. They don't want to see them, and they don't want to have transgender for everyone. They don't want a child leave home as a boy and come back 2 days later as a girl. A parent doesn't want to see that. And there are states where that can happen.
Oh.
They don't want to see taxes go through the roof. Like, this is the only group of people they want to raise your taxes. They say, we want to raise your taxes. You know, if they don't work with us on the Trump tax cuts extending, that would mean it would go back to the taxes. We got the largest tax cut in history. That would mean the taxes would go up more than any tax hike in the history of our country. And normally you'd say, that's got to be the easiest negotiation in history, because if they did that, how could they ever win an election? But they'll fight us on that. They fight us on things. It's incredible.
Here, I ran into...
They don't use common sense. In my opinion, the Democrats don't use common sense. And that's
Common
why-
sense won the day in the election.
Yeah, but you know, the amazing thing, I'm watching now. Now it's time, and you know, a few months have passed, and the election's over, and you see what happened, and it was a rout. I won all 7 swing states, and we won by millions of votes, the popular vote, millions. And nobody can even believe some of the numbers. And how about with African Americans, with Hispanics, with everything, how well we did. Nobody can believe the numbers. How about with youth? I won youth by 36 points. Now, maybe that's because I went on TikTok. I don't know. But I'm starting to have a very warm spot.
TikTok is going to be sold, right?
I think TikTok's going to be
people like
I'll tell you,
Senator...
people want to buy it. People want to buy it.
But those that say they know say it's a spying app for the communist Chinese.
But
So-
but you can say that about everything made in China. Look, we have our telephones made in China for the most part. We have so many things made in China. So why don't they mention that? You know,
Let me get to
The
some
interesting
issues.
thing with TikTok, though, is you're dealing with a lot of young people. So
They love it.
is it that important for China to be spying on young people, on young kids watching crazy videos and things?
I don't want China spying on anybody.
No, but
Shut up,
but
Hannity.
they make your telephones and they make your computers and they make a lot of other things. Isn't that a bigger threat?
I'm sure
Yes.
that'll be part of your discussions with President Xi, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. Let me go to the border. We do have breaking news today. I ran into Tom Homan as I was walking in today. And so far, 308 total arrests, 296 detainees, and the first deployment of military assets to the
Uncle
U.S.
Wayne.
border. The deployment includes active duty troops in the National Guard.
Right.
And here's my biggest fear and concern beyond the Iranian assassination squads is we now know 14 million. We don't know how many gotaways. We don't know the total number. But we have known terrorists in our country. We have known murderers, rapists. We have violent criminals, cartel members, gang members. Now, I would imagine if you came from Iran and Syria and Egypt and Afghanistan and Russia and China and Venezuela, you didn't come here because you want a better life for your children. I would imagine those known terrorists are planning an attack on our homeland.
Here he goes.
At a moment's notice, you're going to be in this desk, maybe sitting at this desk or maybe up in the residence, and they're going to call you down in the Situation Room because our homeland is under attack. I would like to be wrong, but when you have known terrorists, you have to believe that they are going to attack our homeland. That would change their trajectory, that moment of your entire presidency. That has to weigh on you.
Yeah, it could be. And I know I've watched you for a lot of years, and you actually make one statement before you say that. You say 100% certain.
I do.
That's a pretty big statement.
And then I say, I pray to God I'm wrong.
Yeah, I hope you're wrong too. And I won't comment, but I tend to agree with you. It depends. We'll see what happens. Look, we have a lot of great people right now, a lot of great people on this situation. This was a gross miscarriage of common sense to allow people to come in. And I believe the number is 21 million people, and a large percentage of them are criminals all over the world. This is not just South America. This isn't, we talk Venezuela, that's a big abuser, but these are countries from
Iran,
the
Syria?
Congo, countries that you don't even think of. The Congo has emptied their prisons out into the United States. We're not thinking about the Congo. We're thinking about South America. It's much more than South America. But prisons from all over the world have been emptied out into our country by Biden, allowing it to happen. I don't even know if he knew what the hell was going on, but who would want this? I always say to people, you always like to understand, like in a business, you want to understand the other side. Why do they want something, et cetera, and you figure it out. And there's usually an answer, almost always. I don't understand, why does somebody want open borders and they say the vote. Okay, but I did well with the Hispanic vote. If you're looking at Hispanic, they say they do it because they want to think they're going to stay in power. It's going to be better for Democrats. I don't really believe that. Besides that, they cheat so much. They don't have to do that. They cheat so well. They're very good at cheating. The only thing they're good at really is cheating. But here's the thing I ask. Why would somebody say that open borders are good, where jails and mental institutions from other countries and gang members right off the streets of the toughest cities in the world are being brought to the United States of America and emptied out into our country? Why would anybody that even likes, you don't have to love our country, you have to like it. Why would anybody that likes our country, the Democrats, allow that to happen? And even now, I watch them on television, they're trying to justify it. You can't justify it. The only reason it can be is two reasons. You're stupid, and I don't think they're stupid. I think anybody that cheats that much and that well is not stupid. You're either stupid or you hate the country. Those are the only two reasons. Sean, who would ask for open borders with people pouring in, some of whom, I won't get into it, but you can look at them and you can say, could be trouble, could be trouble. There are people coming in.
There are people with gang tattoos on.
There are people coming in with tattoos all over their face. Their entire face is covered with tattoos.
That identifies
Typically, he's not going to be the head of the local bank.
Part 2 of my exclusive interview with the president, only moments away. Stay with us as we continue from the White House.
I'm liking this so far.
It's not bad. They're
liking it.
touching on some topics that we want to hear about, right? Let me
Ally to the-
pull it back down the right way. There we go. What do you guys think? What do you guys think?
I'm liking it so far, except for the whole there could be a terrorist attack on our soil. Yes, there could be, but if Tom Homan does his job correctly, which I feel he is. He's already started. That's going to minimize that statistic or that percentage of possibility, because you're going to be removing people, you know, and you'll be vetting people on the way out the door. Like, okay, so this person comes back, we know about this guy. You know what I'm saying? They're probably going to be taking fingerprints. They're probably going to be taking all types of stuff, pictures, just to make sure they know who it is that they're kicking out. And I got faith. I got faith that everything's about to be fine. We're moving into I guess, safer seas, smoother sailing, you know?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and I see it. I don't think Trump's too off base with what he's already talked about. I think everything he's talking about is what I want to hear, and being blunt and just throwing it out there. I did look. Peter Ducey has already released the letter. If you guys have not read it, I just reposted it on X. He posted it hours ago. I had no idea. Bree, what do you think?
Well, you know, obviously you guys have me on because I have different opinions on certain things in this realm. I don't think the border or crime are the two biggest issues facing this country. And I absolutely don't think it's the culture wars. You know, the swimming stuff in the NCAA did not affect my life or my kids' lives at all. I was very disappointed to hear that he's talking about extending the tax cuts, because that means he's not going to more drastically cut taxes on the working class, which is my number one issue. I want to see taxes cut or eliminated, and I want to see our GDP skyrocket. I want to see anybody that wants to start a business have no barriers to starting a business, hire as many people as you want, buy as many machines as you want.
Well, he partially did that he partially did that already with the executive order that he signed with the whole regulations thing. Doesn't that play a factor into that?
Which one was it?
About regulations. They can't add no new regulations, any more regulations. That's done. So doesn't that kind of like make it easier for people that are starting a business? Maybe some kind of like,
yeah,
you know,
that was expected. His first term, he had the one new 2 out policy. So any new regulation they had to cut to, you know, so he's had a great approach on those. But I mean, the numbers I've heard is that there's 10,000 new regulations per year. So, I mean, it's going to take a lot of work to untangle all of that.
Yeah, and I agree with you on the tax thing. Like, but the part that I resonated with is that's why he's putting ERS in place, the External Revenue Service. That the intent is, by what I'm reading and my understanding of it, because there's some assumptions, but it seems like he is looking to replace the IRS with ERS. And you can't do that sweepingly right now. And that's what I think he's doing. It's a hope. He hasn't said it explicitly, but that's where I took his tax thing and I'm like, okay, checks. We'll take it. But hoping it means something more in the second half of his term, because there's no way we're removing income tax in the next 2 years. I mean, we have to figure out more income issues first and cut more of the budget.
And when you talk about taxes, before we get back over to this, when you talk about like taxing or cutting the taxes or whatever, just because they say they cut the taxes for the poor or for the middle class or for the working man, is all they do is raise prices on things. So if you don't, and with vice versa with that, is if when they give the tax cuts to the rich, all that does is make things cheaper or allow people to get paid more. So it's like, no matter what, they're going to get their money. No matter what, no matter how you want to look at it, whether you're paying it or they're paying it, somebody's going to pay it, period. That's just how it works.
Yeah, I think that, you know, that there's many things that are dependent on this being successful. And, you know, for those in the audience that don't know me, because I've seen some comments, you know, I've been saying if we want to make America great again, we all have to be vigilant. So when Trump says something good, I'm going to say that was good. But if I think of a better way of doing it, I'm also going to say that. So take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, because I think that this is the greatest country in the world. And I think that it could be twice as good if we get the government out of our way. And I want to see independent people, entrepreneurs, small businesses, and the working class be wildly successful. And the government's been the number one impediment to that to this point.
I agree with you. The thing that I see in Trump is he's doing strategic moves, not like game sweeping, like closing things down to where you can decimate certain industries or economies. If he does something, a lot of the stuff is only going to affect things that don't hit us citizens. Hang on, they're back.
States, by definition, or sanctuary cities, they're aiding and abetting in the law breaking. Okay, they're going to get federal funds.
Yeah. We're trying to get rid of them. We're trying to end them, and a lot of the people in those communities don't want them. You know, California is a big example.
Would you cut off their money?
I might have to do that. Sometimes that's the only thing you can do. Look, California is a great example of it. If you actually polled the people, they don't want sanctuary cities, but Gavin Newsom does, and these radical left politicians do. And, you know, if you asked them why, they couldn't even. I watched Gavin Newsom try to answer that question. He was unable to even answer. He looked like an idiot. He was unable to answer. I asked him one other question. Why is it that you don't want millions of gallons of water a day pouring throughout California? You know, the farmland in California is, they say, the equivalent of Iowa, great land, but it's got no water. And you sit there and it's literally, you can see it burning. It's on flame.
Sure.
All they need is water in that big farmland. And I ask him, why? How is it possible that you're not allowing this water? They divert it out to the Pacific Ocean where it drops into the ocean. And you know what it's like? It's like nothing. To the Pacific Ocean, it's like 2 glasses of water. It's nothing. Millions of gallons of water is diverted way up north in California into the Pacific Ocean. That water, you know, they have the pipes in it. It's half pipes. You see them all the time, half pipes. People live in those half pipes now. You know, they have homeless living in those half pipes. But this is water that millions of gallons of water a week and a day in some cases, you know, depending on the flow. So much water they wouldn't know what to do with it. Your sprinklers would be filled. They can even, remember when I took criticism because I said you have to manage your forests. The head of a country that lives in forests, a number of them actually, Finland told me this, Austria told me this, head of Austria, head of Finland. And it was beautiful the way they expressed it. They said, we live in a forest. We are a forest nation. That's beautiful, isn't it, to say that? We have trees that are the most magnificent in the world, far more beautiful than what they have in California, and much more flammable. Mm-hmm. He said, we don't have forest fires. We manage our forests.
You can get a degree in forestry.
Well, they'll do cuts, yeah. Can you imagine? But you don't need much. You have to clean the floors of the forest. You know, when they had forests, I go to see some of the sites I watched in California. They use billions of dollars of money. And they just said, you know, I mean, look at what happened. Los Angeles, that's like a nuclear weapon went off, what's happened to Los Angeles. And, you know, that thing went for 4 or 5 days. Nobody was even fighting it because they didn't have any water. Their fire departments aren't funded properly. And the firefighters were brave as hell. They were fighting without water. I mean, they turn on a fire hydrant. There's no water that comes out. And they're sitting, and the fires are rushing at them at 30, 40 miles an hour. Those firefighters were brave. What happened to that state is incredible. And then you listen to, I remember when Ron DeSantis and Gavin Newsom were debating on your show.
Newsom.
And Newsom's talking like, everything's great. Oh, everything's great, just great, just great. More people left California this year than ever have left in history before the fire. But look at it. Take a look. And you know, the amazing thing, these are wealthy people. Many wealthy people lost their homes. I saw somebody on television, one of the wealthiest people, one of the most powerful people in the country, being interviewed as though he were a vagrant. His shirt was, and you have to know him, he's a mean, horrible human being. He's a tough guy, very tough guy, a horrible person,
Yeah.
but he's very rich. And
He's
very,
rich, but he's a horrible person.
no, he's a horrible human being. I know you have rich people that are
I
very
agree.
nice, but this guy's a terrible person. So I say, that's so-and-so. I said to Melania, I said, look at it. They were interviewing him as a guy that lost his house. He said, they took my house away. And he's literally in his underwear and his T-shirt. It looked like he just got out of the bedroom. And I say, that's one of the wealthiest guys in the country. Look at this guy. Take a look at him. Somebody will tell you the name maybe after the interview,
Okay.
but you won't even believe it. But he was on television as somebody that,
It's
and he was
sad.
complaining they wouldn't let him go to his house, which was on fire. They wouldn't let him go because, you know, they don't want him to die. No, some of the wealthiest, most powerful people lost their homes. And it looked like our country was helpless. This fire was just raging, and then it would catch to another area, another area, another area. There was nothing. It took a week and a half, and I've never seen anything like it. We look so weak.
Will you give, obviously Americans want to help the other Americans in need, okay?
Yeah.
Fair enough, we do that. We got to help the people in North Carolina. They've been suffering.
Well, you know
We agree.
that's what I want to do. That's why I'm stopping there first.
You're going to stop in
I'm
California.
stopping in North
Should the
Carolina
money be
first.
contingent on them practicing the science of forestry?
Well, I think this. I'm going to put a statement out today, I think, and maybe it's already written. I said, I don't think we should give California anything until they let water flow down into their.
Just from the north to the south.
This is
Facts.
a political thing.
Facts.
I don't know what it is. You know, they talk about the Delta smelt. It's a little tiny fish like this.
I went out.
They say it's an endangered species. Well, how is it endangered? No wonder it's endangered. It's not getting any water. How do you, if you have a fish and you're stopping the water, isn't that going to hurt the fish? You
I
know?
did a show in 2009 from the San Joaquin Valley, Devin Nunes' district,
Right.
and they wouldn't give thousands of acres of farmland water to protect that.
By the way, you see that now. I
It's
drove
crazy.
up the highway.
The
I was
Delta
with
smelt.
Devin Nunes, another Republican congressman,
Uh,
and I looked at these vast areas of land, and it looked like it was just burning. It was dark. It was
Terrible.
dry. And then there'd be a little patch, little tiny patch of green, beautiful green. And I said, why? How come all this land has these little patches? They said, that's all that we're allowed to farm because we have no water. I said, are you having a drought? No. They've turned off the water. They turned off the spigot from up north in order to protect the Delta smelt.
Let me move on to the
And by the way,
economy.
I don't really believe it's the Delta smelt because nobody could do that. It's not endangered either. They have it in other locations, et cetera. Et cetera.
Yo.
They're doing seemingly everything they could do, like New York is in many ways, to chase people away.
No, but can you imagine today
It's crazy.
when people, and the press doesn't like, when I talk about the water that they're turning into
Yeah.
the Pacific, the press never wants to put it on.
Of course not.
The fake news. They don't want to put it on,
But
Sean.
you do realize that you have permanently tattooed into the forehead of legacy media the term fake news. You do realize they spent 9 years, 9 years attacking you from the moment you came down that escalator, and they didn't stop. And here's the interesting part to me, is that all of the attacks, all the weaponization, all the FISA warrants, all the Russia, and we can go on, all the various venues, the J6 committee, which kept out a lot of pertinent
And how
information.
about the J6 committee? I call it the unselect. You know, they say the
But
select.
they didn't win.
No. What they did was criminal. That's why they got pardoned.
No, I was
They
saying that-
deleted and destroyed all of the information that they
Why
collected
else
over
would they
2
need a
years.
pardon?
And you know why? Because it proved I was right.
Yep.
All of that information was deleted and destroyed. They deleted all of the information having to do with the 10,000 soldiers that I offered to Nancy Pelosi. And she's now
All
on tape
5 people-
admitting it.
I have 4 of the 5 people on tape, and General Milley was the 5th in writing, all saying that you authorized it in the days leading up. The Capitol Police Chief asked for the guard, was begging for the guard. Muriel Bowser, in writing, denied the use of the guard.
But Nancy
That
Pelosi
story
even
was.
more strongly denied it.
She said that.
Facts.
She was responsible
She
for the
took
whole thing.
responsibility.
She was and she took responsibility for her daughter
Yeah.
When it was exposed, they found the daughter's tape, a videotape of her mother saying that she was responsible. And
Let
you
me-
know what? And they try to lose it. But
Let
wait a
me move
minute.
on to the economy.
Unselect, remember this, the Unselect Committee, these people that were appointed, all Democrats, plus two worse than Democrats, that's crying Adam Kinzinger
And
and Liz Cheney, who
lying
lost
Liz
her
Cheney.
congressional seat by more than any person in the history of Congress.
Facts,
She lost
dog.
by a number that nobody has ever lost by. You know why? Because usually when you have a poll and you're down by like 40 or 50 points, you're smart enough to drop out. She should have dropped out. At least she wouldn't have that moniker.
Before I go to the economy and foreign policy, as long as you brought up this topic, Joe Biden,
I feel like Trump's going to bring that up
Chuck
again.
Schumer, Adam
he
Schiff,
will.
who got a preemptive pardon. All these people that got pardoned. Anthony Fauci, did he know that
That's crazy.
NIH money through the EcoHealth Alliance was funding the Wuhan Virology Lab?
Yes,
There
he
seems
did.
to be text and messages and emails that went back and forth. You talk about the Unselect Committee, as you call it, the January 6th committee. They had a predetermined outcome. General Milley, all these people, the Biden family members. Joe Biden ran and said he would never do preemptive pardons. It was an issue that came up when you were leaving in your first
Oh,
time.
he heard that I was going to do it. I didn't want to do it. I was given the option. They said, sir, would you like to pardon everybody, including yourself? I said, I'm not going to pardon anybody. We didn't do anything wrong. And
Let's
we
go.
had people that suffered. They're incredible patriots. We had people that suffered. You had Bannon put in jail. You had Peter Navarro put in jail. You had people that suffered. And far worse than that, they've lost their fortunes. They've lost their whatever, their nest egg, paying it to lawyers. And those people, and people said, and they wouldn't have even taken, most of those people, they wouldn't have even taken a pardon. This guy went around giving everybody pardons. And you know, the funny thing, maybe the sad thing, is he didn't give himself a pardon. And if you look at it, it all had to do with him. I mean, the money went to him.
Should Congress investigate that?
Well, I don't know. It's, you know,
Well, you ordered the DOJ.
I've always been, look,
Let him be.
he didn't give himself a pardon. And he didn't give some other people a pardon that needed it. And I heard Schiff went to him and just begged him for a pardon because Schiff is a crook. Schiff is a crooked guy. He's a crooked politician. He made up the story about Russia. He totally made
did.
it up. You know, he's a storyteller. And then after he made it up, they found out that there was a tape of the conversation made by, you know, I guess the State Department. I don't know. When you make calls, they make tapes sometimes, not all the time.
He
but
was the one
sometimes.
talking to the Russians.
So he, in the meantime, made up the conversation, totally made it up about quid pro quo. There was no quid pro quo, just there was a perfect call. Tim Scott was the first one to come. He read it. He said, "This is a perfect call. What are you doing? You're impeaching a man for a perfect call." It was Schiff, Hillary, the whole group.
Yes.
You know what? They should. Schiff is just a bad, sick guy, and he went to Biden and he demanded a pardon because he thought he did something. He knew he
Benny
did
Thompson,
something.
one the chairman of that committee.
Benny Thompson destroyed, along with that Unselect Committee, destroyed all of the work that took place over 2 years. You know why? It showed that I was right.
We're
Yo,
back
I'm
with
loving
the
this. I'm loving this right now. Real talk, man. This is great. This is great.
We're going to call out Crooked Hillary. We know. Russia, they made it up. It was a lie, and now it's coming out, and everyone knows it. And he didn't pardon himself. Why didn't he pardon himself? He forgot.
Well, I'll get to that. Free, what do you think?
You know, I hope we get through this because, you know, this is all stuff we know, and this is all stuff that they're probably not even going to do anything about. I mean, he even just kind of alluded there that, you know, well, you know, I mean, are you really going to go after, you know, Biden and the old folks home? I mean, it's all true, and it's all, you know, part of our history, and it's, you know, we all lived it. Right. So, I think that, you know, they need to seize the power and, work towards liberty, and anything that's about this, these Democrat Republican wars or the culture wars or any of that stuff is going to distract and detract from doing the work that needs to be done to get us back on track.
Yeah.
Does that count as rapping, Cash?
No, that was it was good poetry. It flowed beautifully.
Oh,
Detract, distract, get on track.
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah, you sound white now, Free. If you didn't do that, we could have said it. But now, no, I think it's wonderful. The thing that I want Trump to actually go a little bit harder and just throwing everything out, because I think he has done that. He called out Joe Biden and Kamala, and they had to sit and hear it right in front of them. And that stuff is what is going to change this country. We have to.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
When it comes down to crap, what was it that you mentioned, Cash, that I said we'll get to? There was one topic. Damn it.
I've been talking a lot.
I think
I'm all for
Trump...
public shame. Public shaming, that should be a thing. You should definitely, when somebody does something wrong, publicly shame them. Just like on Game of Thrones, when they made Cersei walk through this whole town naked and everybody just threw vegetables at her and yelled shame. Just like that. Kind of like that.
On the same tip, I think that Trump should issue Biden a pardon, and it should be the greatest shit-talking pardon of all time. He's old, he's senile. Sure, he took, millions of dollars from sources, but he's old and he's senile, and so he needs to change his diaper and just issue the greatest shit-talking pardon of all time.
I love it. And he should actually make Weekend at Bernie's free, and it should be broadcast on PBS every day.
You're an idiot. That'd be funny. Yeah, no, I agree. He should. I honest to God, I feel like he should pardon Biden. He should just do it.
I'm pardoning Biden just to show you all. I want to unite this country. So all you Democrats who think I'm evil, I just want to say I'm part.
But then all the ultra-right conservatives would have something to say.
I knew Trump was fake. I knew it. I knew he was fake. I knew he wasn't with us. How's he going to pardon that pedo?
Check out Russo's comment.
Who?
Who's that?
I don't know. I wrote his name down. I wrote my name down. It's my name.
I heard he writes books. He doesn't know what politics is because he can't handle it.
Yeah, I don't.
Biden takes the pardon. He loses the Fifth Amendment.
That's why Trump should pardon him.
Yeah.
And he's got diarrhea.
He's not too old to testify.
By the way,
of the ass.
Did you see who denied a pardon?
Yeah, Pam.
Pam denied her pardon for J6.
Yeah, it's not like it
did
matters.
She
though.
or did she just say she was going to?
Well,
she said she was going to.
X.
You can't deny it. If it's your pardon, your pardon. You can't say I don't
Really?
want this. Yeah.
Well, you have to be able to if they take your Fifth Amendment away.
You cannot deny a pardon. If you're pardoned, you're pardoned.
I thought somebody just turned down a pardon. No, I can't remember.
I swear you can, because you're losing a very critical right, and that's your Fifth Amendment. Russo is saying you can't. Whoever this person is.
Wait. You lose your Fifth Amendment if you accept a pardon?
If you accept a pardon, you no longer have a Fifth Amendment. For that period of time, you're pardoned. Correct.
So wait a minute. So I don't have the right to remain silent?
No, not for the topics that happened during the period that you are pardoned. Correct.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll accept it.
So during the period that you're pardoned,
I'm talking about it all right now. Yeah.
Dr. Fauci is pardoned for 11 years. So he cannot he cannot plead Fifth Amendment for anything he was involved in during COVID. He cannot say, I'm going to remain silent.
Oh, yeah, I'm cool. I love talking about J6, so I accept the pardon gladly. All right.
Yeah. I figured you wouldn't have a problem with it, but
yeah, no, not at all.
But yeah, I don't think Biden, I think Biden is not expected to make it to 2026. That's why he didn't get pardoned. That's why it wasn't put there. And then everybody on the left can be like, look, he was so great. He didn't think about himself.
I would love for Congress to call me in for the new Jan 6 committee to testify before Congress. Just to be like, hey, I just want to clear the air real quick. They lied. There was not no white supremacists in there. The Oath Keepers ain't white supremacists. I know them personally. We made burritos together.
and pizza.
And pizza. I taught him how.
So you did run on a platform. You were very straightforward. You said you would pardon these people that were sentenced for January 6th.
No, totally.
You did. The only criticism or pushback I've seen is about people that were convicted or involved in incidents where they were violent with police. Why did they get a pardon?
Number of reasons. Number one, they were in there for 3.5 years, a long time.
Right.
And in many solitary confinement, treated like nobody's ever been treated so badly. They were treated like the worst criminals in history. And you know what they were there for? They were protesting the vote because they knew the election was rigged and they were protesting the vote. And that you should be allowed to protest a vote. You should be allowed to. You know, when the day
But
comes,
you shouldn't be able to invade the Capitol.
no, ready? Most of the people were absolutely innocent. Okay, but forgetting all about that, these people have served horribly a long time. It would be very, very cumbersome to go and look. You know how many people we're talking about? 1,500 people. Almost all of them should not have been. This should not have happened. And the other thing is this: some of those people with the police, true, but they were very minor incidents. Okay, you know they get built up by a couple of fake guys that are on CNN all the time.
Nobody watches.
They were
Or-
very minor incidents, and it was time. You have murderers in Philadelphia. You have murderers in Los Angeles that don't even get any time. They don't even collect them, and they know they're there to be collected. And then they go on television and act holier than thou about this one or that one. You had 1,500 people that suffered. That's a lot of people. You know, they were looking for new people 2 weeks ago. They were looking, wait a minute, they were looking
More
to
people.
charge new people. They have a woman who's 76 years old. that
Someone
they
got charged
said
in
made a
inauguration.
statement that was a little bit out
Someone
of
just
line.
turned themselves in.
Years
Hey,
after the fact, this was a political hoax. And you know what? Those people, and I'm not saying in every single case, but there was a lot of patriotism with those people, a lot of patriotism. You know, they did a recording, and you know, they asked me if I do the voiceover, and I did. Do you know it was the #1 selling, whatever you call it nowadays, album, whatever, song,
CD?
whatever you
I don't
call it. You
remember.
don't know, it changes every year, right? But it was the #1 selling song, #1 on Billboard, #1 on everything for so long. People get it. They wanted to see those people
American
released.
people were aware. You told them what you would do. Joe
Well, they
Biden,
voted for
Joe
me.
Biden said he would not do it. Let me move on to the economy.
By the way,
It's so
excuse me,
important. It was such a big,
Just,
yeah,
I was very clear about it.
very clear.
I said I was going to release him, and probably very quickly. And they voted for me, and I won in a landslide. And that was only one of the many
And Joe
reasons.
said he would not do preemptive pardons back in 2020. Chuck Schumer said it. Schiff said it. They all said it. The media said it.
The precedent that he set on pardons is amazing. That's a much bigger story, but people don't like talking about it. He pardoned everybody, but he didn't pardon himself. And remember this, those people that he pardoned are now mandated because they got a pardon to testify, and they can't take the fifth.
Should Congress investigate that?
I think we'll let Congress decide.
Would you want the Attorney General to investigate it?
You know, I was always against that with presidents and Hillary Clinton. I could have had Hillary Clinton, a big number done on her.
Have you changed your
And I
mind?
didn't want to, well, I went through 4 years of hell by the scum that we had to deal with. I went through 4 years of hell. I spent millions of dollars in legal fees, and I won, but I did it the hard way. It's really
some
hard
golfing.
to say that they shouldn't have to go through it also. It is very hard to say that.
The
Joe
econ-
Biden, remember this, Joe Biden got very bad advice because, like he has in everything,
Hunter's
he got
laptop.
bad advice on Ukraine. He got bad advice that war should have never started. He got bad advice on Israel. He got bad advice on the way he got out of Afghanistan. We should have gotten out with strength and dignity, not like a bunch of losers.
Yep.
Joe
Big
Biden
fact.
has very bad advisors.
Let me-
Made us look
Somebody
bad.
advised Joe Biden to give pardons to everybody but him.
Let me
They
get
wanted to
the
take care.
economy.
Yeah, but Sean,
I'm running
they
out of
wanted
time.
to. I don't care.
They're yelling at me.
This is
over
more
there.
important because
I
right now
agree.
the economy is going to do great.
I want to know about
I'm
the
here,
economy.
so the economy. But you have to understand, he had bad advisors on almost everything. It's like in the old days when the Secretary of State said he never made a correct decision on foreign policy. Joe Biden got very bad advice.
You've been through, you had 2 would-be assassins. You came within a millimeter of losing your life in this whole process. I know you kind of are somebody that compartmentalizes because I've known you so long, but do you ever think, and you said this in your inaugural, that you really believe God saved your life so that this was your destiny? Explain that.
Well, I do believe that. I've had people that really know a lot about guns. And they said that gun, that particular gun, in that beautiful field, as I called it, in Pennsylvania, which it is, Butler, that gun's a very accurate gun. And that a bad shooter would hit the target 100% of the time.
You can't miss.
Okay, from that distance. Yeah, from that distance. I mean, to me, I don't know as much about it. They said it's like for a golfer sinking a 1-foot putt from that distance. And my son Don and my son, both of them, Eric, they're great shooters. Both of them are great shooters. And they said it's amazing. It's a miracle. I think it affected them because they can't believe that happened. I turned. If I didn't turn, when the turn was like split second perfect timing. So something happened, and I don't think you can call it just luck. The chance was like 1/8 of a second, or we wouldn't be sitting here. Think of it, in a volume of time, 1/8 of a second, I was in the right position.
Do you believe that moment, people say to me, they see a change in you? Do you believe you changed? Is this, for example, increased your faith in God?
Yes, I think so. I don't think I've changed, but I think that has taken place, yeah. Because when you look at statistically, I should never be here. I mean, if I don't turn I'm looking at an immigration chart, my favorite chart ever in history.
Yeah.
Even if the numbers were bad, I would like it.
We're talking about assassination and you're telling jokes.
No, can you
but
believe
it's terrible.
No,
I remember that day like
when I turned, and it had to be at an exactly 90-degree angle. And I said, throw down the chart or something to that effect. And they bring the chart, and I'm literally looking exactly at the right angle. I couldn't have even been a little further or a little bit less. It would have whacked, because it was 1/8 of an inch. The entire ride was 1/8 of an inch.
Will you investigate these assassination attempts? And you stated that you will release the files, all of the files, as it relates to the JFK assassination. And by the way, this is his desk.
Yeah, that's right.
This is where
That's
John Kennedy, little
That's
John
a
Kennedy.
movable door.
Yeah.
It's a little door there. That's where John was.
John, yeah. And RFK, and also Martin Luther King Jr., and that you will be transparent. This was going to happen in the first
So many
term.
people have asked me to do that. And I did it with Kennedy to an extent,
Right.
but I was asked by some of our government officials not to. And, you have to respect them. I was actually asked by Mike Pompeo, who's Secretary of State, not to. And I felt he knew something that maybe, when he asks you not to, you sort of say, why? And he felt that it was just not a good time to release him. And you might ask him why. Maybe he'll deny that even. But he did. He asked me. And some others also, though. They didn't want the Kennedy stuff released. And they're professionals, and I respect them. And they're working for me and the country. They're working for the country. And so I didn't release. But I'm going to release them immediately upon getting. We're going to see the information. We're looking at it right now.
More Hannity from the White House as we continue.
It's a good interview, man. It's not too bad.
I release the JFK files, please.
Oh my God.
I want this stuff out.
Release the Epstein files. I want to
I'll
know
take that
who's
too.
all on the list. I want to know who needs to be put out there. Just gonna say it like that. Let us know about that. Let us know what's going on with them drones. What was that about? What was that about? Let us know
See-
about that.
Yeah. What do you think, Free? And then I'll jump in again.
How much say does Cash Patel have in that? Because Cash Patel said he's going to release it. So I was expecting he was going to say, that's in Cash Patel's hands, but he didn't.
Cash isn't confirmed yet, right?
Not
He's
yet,
not, but I think Cash Patel or whoever ends up in that position. I mean, that's a hot button item.
So-
You'd think that.
No. You, as a leader, you wouldn't want to put somebody up on a pedestal and say this person's going to do it, and they're not in that position, because now you have ammo against them on why people won't vote for them. And so Trump is just saying it's on me. And I 100% respect that from a leader standpoint. Like, you
That
do
makes
that.
sense.
I want to know about some real stuff that's going on in this country, bro.
Dude, it's
That's
been a
what I
couple
wanna know.
days. Like, we already got a lot.
No, I want to know about the tunnels that they be hiding kids in America, because they exist, and you'll be hearing about more about that from some of the J6s that got out there, ran in some of those tunnels and found kids. I want to know who the hell was running the tunnel, who was the one that got charged, why wasn't it public knowledge, why wasn't it on national news that kids was being found? How come we don't hear about all the important things that's going on in this country? You know what I'm saying? They just keep us distracted and don't want us to know what the hell is really going on in this country.
Yeah.
It's insane. I want to know about the real things. Tell me the real.
Yeah, and to the statement, like, I am not saying don't be vocal, by the way. Please. Everybody was coming at me in the comments yesterday when I was mad that it took Trump more than one day to pardon Ross. He committed verbally, and we have it on video that he would do it day one. We have to make sure that we are comfortable with calling out, hey, we want you to do this. Even though I supported you, you got my vote, do this. Don't be making excuses for him. You be calling it out. But I thought the thing that I loved, I never saw Trump push back on Hannity like he just did. Like, no, we're going to talk about this. You're telling me to move on? No, we're talking about this. This is important. And normally he would have just rolled with it and went with what Hannity's signals were. And this is the sign. This is the difference that I'm seeing in Trump from the first term to now. And I'm hoping it keeps going. I think it will, but I'm hoping it keeps going. What do you guys think?
I want to know. I'm pushing for it. I'm pushing for that. I'm pushing for prison reform. Big time. They need to be holding these officers that are inside these prisons accountable. That needs to happen. There needs to be some transparency on all of that, and review of the cases from people that have lost their lives in prison or have gotten a longer sentence in prison because they found drugs inside their cell or whatever the case is, man. All of that kind of stuff is important to me because I went through it. I seen it. I watched it. You know what I'm saying? And when another thing that needs to get exposed is when they talk about like the border, right? They talk about how drugs get into this country, but they don't tell you the real about the corrupt border agents that charges somebody $60,000 to wave a truck through. That's how the drugs get in here. It's not like they're just driving across the border or sneaking them across where there's a no entry point. That's not how the drugs get in here. I've been locked up with cartel members that have told me, bro, it's not. We don't go anywhere else except through the port of entry, and we just pay the border agent $60,000 and they wave a truck through. That's a truck, not a van, a truck. They're waving a truck through. This is the stuff that needs to get exposed.
Right.
So.
Well, and on Saturday, I want to say it was Saturday, don't hold me to it, but it was just recently within the last few days. We are in a situation, they uncovered a gigantic tunnel that was fortified with air circulation and to be able to keep everything going from southern Texas over to Mexico. And that thing looked like it's been there for years.
Yeah.
That's the type of stuff. There should be no reason why that exists and we can't catch it. We have so much technology. We could just drive a truck with radar that just scans the ground and you'll be able to see tunnels at our border. Why are we not doing this?
Then you know why.
Because it's our government. Our government has some hand in this. And thankfully, it seems like we're finally starting to put a stop to it. They're coming back on.
I want to thank President Trump, his administration, for welcoming all of us to the White House just 2 days after taking office. We'll have more of this interview coming up tomorrow. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have left for tonight. In the meantime, let not your heart be
It's all right.
troubled.
Okay.
Greg Gutfeld standing
It's all
by
right.
to put a
Take him
smile
off
on
here.
your face. Have a great night.
No biggie. All right.
I don't like that.
So
I don't
yeah,
like
well, no, I do. I love it. So you got to take off the overlay.
I'm fixing it.
I want to just say, that's the things, bro. Like just touching on that just a little bit about the way that vans get waved through. You don't know the contents of that van that gets waved through. Sometimes it's people. Sometimes it's children. You know what I'm saying? This is how they get people in here. It's not, which I agree, we need a wall. Every country needs a border. I get that. But we need to have a better system with the people that are running the border. Something's gotta change there. When you're easily corrupted by $60,000 to wave a truck through with not knowing what's going on with that truck, or let a truck pass from America. You know what I'm saying? And that happens too. They let a truck pass from America going down into Mexico, probably harboring a bunch of people, young people. You know what I'm saying? Something needs to happen, bro. Something needs
I
to
agree
happen.
with you.
All the federal BOP officers need to be wearing cameras. Anytime they have an interaction with an inmate, there needs to be 24-hour
Oh, I agree with
surveillance
that.
inside federal facilities, so it would deter any wrongdoings from an officer and even the inmates. An inmate ain't trying to catch another charge for doing something to somebody if they know they're going to get caught.
Right. Well, the one thing is, and Freya, give me just a second. Cash, you shared some pictures earlier. Like,
Yeah.
was that not shared because no one got a pardon yet?
Which pictures?
The pictures of the J6er, I don't remember his name, but he had a bunch of, like, clearly his face was swollen. He had cuts on his face.
Oh, yeah, that's Ryan Samso. I haven't heard anything from him. I don't know if he got pardoned or if he's out or what. I'm assuming that if he was out, he would have hit me up because that's my dog. But I haven't heard from him in a couple months, bro. I ain't heard nothing from him. It's been like radio silence. I don't know what's going on with him.
See, and I've heard stuff like that. And when I saw those pictures, I'm like, so this was probably going on in DC, which you have implied. And I'm like, yeah, everybody that's in a correctional facility and officer should probably have a body camera, not just for their safety, but also for who they're dealing with.
Yeah.
What do you think, Free?
I think, most federal employees should have body cams. I mean, if the technology exists and, it's a necessary task, monitor it, even just for efficiency purposes. How do they spend their day? And, obviously in situations like that where people are dealing with the general public or, the incarcerated, there's no reason not to. I was saying that for voting, the poll watchers and all of that should have it.
That's actually a good idea too. I like that.
I'm telling you, bro, it all needs to happen. And by the way, thank you, Rona Ivory, for the stars. I appreciate you, my sister. Yeah, bro, it's just, I feel like right now is the time to get all these things done. You got complete control. Set up a since we got the House of Senate and we got President Trump in there, what needs to happen is they need to set up a federal oversight of the BOP. That needs to happen because there's too much stuff going on inside the BOP. And then politicians should not have a stake inside of prisons. It just shouldn't happen. Politicians in Congress that make laws that lock people up, judges should not own stakes in prisons. There should not be one judge that owns any kind of anything in prisons. Your family shouldn't even be allowed to own anything in prisons if you're a judge and have the power to sentence somebody to this facility. All right. And this is the reason I'm bringing that up is because Northern Neck, Virginia. Northern Neck, Virginia has a judge that lives there that owns part of Northern Neck Prison. And you sentence people there. Mm-hmm. You're the one that gives out the sentence. How is that a thing? How's that possible? And then you allow for mistreatment of people once they're there. There's corruption. I'm talking about they sat a man, tied him to a chair, and told him they was going to put the nightstick up his rectum. This happened in Northern Neck, Virginia. They beat the dude. They beat him viciously. And he's not even a J6er that they did this to. This is an inmate. This is a story that we got from an inmate that was beat up while we were there. And since then, the lieutenant finally had been fired. Like 2 years later, he got fired. 2 years after he done did this. No telling who else he did this to. But this stuff happens throughout our country. Supposed to be the most civilized, number one, top of the top civilization in the world. And we're allowing this kind of mistreatment to American citizens. Whether or not they are convicted of a crime, it does not matter. It should not happen. It shouldn't happen.
Agreed.
Especially if they're paying for their crime already.
Yeah.
So, you know.
I don't disagree with you. I think one of the biggest problems, and the thing that's hilarious, I shouldn't say hilarious, but the thing that's ironic about this whole thing, who was crying about the school to prison pipeline? It was the liberals, right?
Yeah.
And the liberals are one of the biggest in supporting private industry running prisons.
Well, that's some liberals, because you got a lot of Republicans that do too.
No,
some
I'm
liberals
saying
and some Republicans.
predominantly it's up more on the left than it is the right, in my opinion. It's bad, but that's where those things need to be called out. A lot of people, I would say it's probably a good 40% of America doesn't even realize prisons are privately owned.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. You got George Bush's family who owns literally the majority stake in Keefe. Keefe is what is sold throughout prisons, bro. George Bush is getting paid hand over foot. The whole Bush family, they all making money on commissary in prison. And then you got to think about that. Think of how much money goes through the prison system.
Oh,
the
dude.
phone services.
Yes.
Right? The phone services alone is a multi-billion-dollar a week. A week. Billions of dollars a week. Probably trillions a year.
The hundreds of dollars we spent just to communicate with you is insane.
They getting paid. This is legal slavery, bro. I'm talking for real. Like, oh, you don't want to listen to me? All right, throw them in the hot box. And that voice that you heard, you probably think it was a redneck, right? No, it's a hillbilly black dude. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. That's what's all throughout the system. You got, man, when I was in Northern Neck, Virginia, it was a black CO that came and took down my clothes because you can't hang the whites, because in Northern Neck, Virginia, we don't hang the whites, we hang the blacks, or we hang the browns. That's what they said.
What?
Yeah, you can't hang any clothing that's white on your bunk for it to dry. You got to place it underneath your mat or something. You're not allowed to hang your white clothes. This is, anybody that's been through Northern Neck, Virginia will tell you this. You're not allowed to hang any white clothing because they only hang the browns. With your brown shirt or your brown, whatever is brown, you can hang it, but you can't hang anything white. If that's not some symbolism right there, bro. And we went through this.
That's crazy.
That's what it's like.
So the thing I want to add is, in addition to reforms in our justice system and the prison industrial complex, we also need to stop putting so many people in prison. And
yes,
we have the largest per capita prison population in the civilized world, and we shouldn't. And we also have the technology to put people on house arrest and things like that, where, we haven't basically changed our justice system at all to take advantage of technology. We haven't solved any rehabilitation problems. We seem to be moving further away from rehabilitation.
Yeah.
And I know I'm going to get it for this, but the thing I don't like about what Trump is doing is, he just pardoned, 1,500 plus people. And then at the same time, he's saying we need to execute more people. And, connect the dots. I'm not going out on a limb here. Connect the dots.
I got to.
They were saying that you guys killed 5 officers,
which is not
they
true.
Wouldn't, if the Democrats weren't in power and could quickly execute people, you don't think they would have gone after the J6ers and tried to execute a couple J6ers?
Well, personally,
just saying.
Personally, this is what I'm saying right here, right? When he's talking about we're doing with people that are drug like kingpins or whatever, is that what it's for? You talking about the people bringing the Fetty across the border? Yeah, so
I think so.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about. I don't think he's talking about just executing people. But me personally, I'm not for the death penalty. And I know that probably shocked people, but it's like a conscious thing. I'm not for the death penalty because I feel God should be the only person that has the right to take a life. But then on top, but the contrast to that, right? The contradiction to that with me is because I'm a loud and proud patriot, and I understand that rules are what make up a society, especially a thriving society. So if the government, and this is where I bring the Bible into it, right? They had it set up in the Bible to where if you did certain things, you had to die. You know what I'm saying? And that's the way our society is. There's certain things, if you do these things, that you have to die. But my problem is we have a broken system to where innocent people are found guilty. So then if you have a innocent person found guilty for something that he didn't do, but he's found guilty and now he's got the death penalty, we're putting to death an innocent man. And this has happened repeatedly in this country.
Hundreds of
And
times.
it continues to happen. You know what I'm saying? So that's my thing. But I do think there needs to be a harsh punishment for people that, you know, put drugs in the community, especially on a large scale, say like a cartel member. That needs to happen. You know what I'm saying? With that one right there, with the whole child thing, I feel you. I understand. I think there needs to be some deep psychological evaluations and castration. That's what I recommend for
Wood
people
chipper.
that do that crime. You know,
Wood chipper.
No, not that, man. Just castration and locked up and have to deal with some psychological issues, because that's the only thing is you got to have a psychological issue to do something like that. You know what I'm saying? That there's something psychologically wrong, and somebody may have been through something. What changed my mind on that is being incarcerated and hearing
sure.
that story of that dude, you know, that got found with a whole bunch of CP on his computer, and that's what he was locked up for.
Yeah.
And I was shocked at his story, because I'm like, dang, I put myself in the shoes of the person that was giving his mother the drugs that led to her pimping her own son out to men. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it got deep, and it was just like, dang, you know, it's a lot of stories like that. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's where I stand on all of it.
I think if you don't trust the system, you don't trust them to force a vaccine on you. You don't trust them with the draft. You don't trust them with, you know, foreign aid. You don't trust them with other stuff. How could you possibly trust them with capital punishment? And
yeah, I don't like capital punishment.
Trump got accused of sexual molestation by, Mean Gene Carroll. And, again, why wouldn't they frame him? They spent 4 years trying to frame him for 1,000 different things. If there was a death penalty situation there, they would have tried to frame him with that. So, like, of all people, like, I don't get how he's like, give the justice system more power. He's like, they made my life hell for 4 years. What I'd like to do is give them more power.
You know what I like the idea of? I like the idea of like Amanda Waller. You know, let's set up our own suicide squad, and it's all the people that are convicted of crimes that we know they committed, and they're the worst criminals in the world. Okay, you just signed yourself up for special operations in the military, where you're not going out with regular soldiers. No, you're going to be with people like you. We're going to trust you with this gun. We're going to put these little trackers inside of you. And if you try to flee, then you're executing yourself, because we're giving you the opportunity to make something more of yourself. So you go out there on the battlefield, you protect this country, you protect the people that you hurt, and become a better member of society by doing that. That's my idea. If I was a president, that's what I'd do. I say, all right, look, everybody that's going to prison for murder or graping somebody or doing something to a child, we got something for you. You are going to this camp. It's a prison, but it's a camp where we're going to train you how to use these weapons, and you're going out. We're going to plant a chip inside of you, and if you try to flee, it's going to blow up. Your head's going to be gone. You know what I'm saying? So just become
Bush
a hero.
own that operation too? As long as you're giving people power, can Bush make money off of that? Or
no, nobody makes no
money off of it.
Nobody makes no money. Nobody's making money. We're making our armed forces a lot stronger in America, because we got people that they're ready to go. It doesn't matter.
And then Adam Schiff is in charge of that committee, and it goes well, right?
No, Amanda Waller, bro.
I'm just saying, you got to imagine the worst person being in charge of it, not the best person in charge of it.
I'm just saying.
Fair. Yeah, and Free and I have had these debates and conversations. Like, he doesn't believe in the death penalty. I do in obvious situations like school shootings and stuff like that. I don't think they deserve our oxygen, but I don't trust the judicial system to be able to make that determination. But when it's obvious, we have photographic and video evidence that this person went in and took care of other people and removed them from this planet. So I don't think they should be here. That's why. But children, I have a stronger feeling with Cash, which that's why I say wood chipper is. I see Alex Rosen, I see Bikers Against Predators, and I see all of these people that they talk with, and they know how to milk it and try to get sympathy when they are getting arrested, but they don't seem to fix this.
I feel you. Everybody's got an opinion. I understand your opinion. I'm just saying I was locked up with a couple of these types of people, and some of their stories are different. You know what I mean? And it's not excusing at all what they did wrong. It's just like, dang, bro, I can't believe that's all that you did. Like you should have been a serial killer with all the trauma you got. You know what I'm saying? Those type of people, I'm saying, put them in the war. You know.
Let me say it a different way though. Like, you know, Cash, you and I did the whole race and justice series. You know, we've at every level from the death penalty all the way down to bail, blacks have been unfairly targeted, given harsher sentences, given less opportunities in the justice system. You know, if they for 100 years didn't do that, I still wouldn't trust them to fairly judge people. And you know, and we're living still in the middle of it. So you want to talk about chemical castration, you want to talk about executions, you want to talk about all these things. I don't think that they're capable of doing it right or doing it fairly. And so just for those reasons, I'm completely out on giving them more power. And I would like to, you know, abolish the death penalty.
I feel that. You're entitled to your opinion on it, you know? I mean, and that's okay. I guess we just got to wait and put it on the ballot box, man. That's it. You know, people vote on it because everybody that's the beauty of America. We can have a difference of opinion about things and then we vote and then may the best man win.
Mob rule worked out well for the blacks, right? You know, let's do that.
We never had the mob. Never had the mob.
No, I'm saying mob rule, like when they were hanging blacks in trees, like, you know, in the South.
Yeah, but brother, we're not there no more. We ain't there no more. That doesn't exist.
Saying mob rule is not the way to solve problems.
It's not about a mob rule. You're missing what I'm saying. It's not about a mob rule. It's not about, when you look back in history, you see progression. I'm talking about progression. That's what I'm talking about. Progressing from where we are right now and progressing forward and changing some things up because it's not working. Like you're saying, the prison industry, it's not working. It isn't working. We have to find another solution. I'm not for the death penalty. I think that that's not a solution, you know, because then you'll have people being executed. But you're talking about people hanging. It'll be lynchings just with the justice system, which currently still happens. You know, all I'm saying is we need different methods. Another thing, a drug dealer should not be housed. A nonviolent drug dealer should not be housed with a violent murderer or a violent rapist. It shouldn't be. There's different crimes. There needs to be different institutions for them people. Sure. Because when you put somebody who's nonviolent as just a hustler, and I'm not meaning that to you know, minimize the effects that a drug dealer has on a community, but what I'm saying is you're taking that person that has already got a mind for business, as a hustler that knows the numbers, and then putting him around some hardened criminals, which one or two things going to happen. He's either going to become a vicious man with a mind of hustle that is now willing to kill you to get that money. Or,
well, you know, but when I say mob rule, that's my like slang basically for democracy, where, you know, if 51% of the people have the wrong idea, they can force that on the rest of us. And the prison system is a perfect example of, you know, when Biden passed the Crime Act in whatever that was, 96 or 94, you know, to me, that's mob rule. That put more blacks in prison than any other piece of legislation in our history. You know, we should not be giving them more power to do stuff like that when today, currently, they're not doing that. Like, and you're saying assigning prisons. Right now, they have a financial interest in assigning those prisons.
Correct.
So while you're talking about the utopia, I'm talking about the real world today, where they're doing it for financial reasons, not for rehabilitation, not for our safety, not to get bad guys off the streets.
And that's,
I hear you.
That's where we agree on a lot of that. my thing is just the stronger stance that a school shooter, for example, why? There's no point. They
Deranged.
took somebody else's life. They don't deserve it either. But that's where I stand my ground on it. But what do you see as the solution, Free? Because my thing is I struggle with this, because if we were to take the prisons and make them no longer privatized, then who does it go? The government? We don't trust them either. Like, what is our solution there? Because it seems like the connection between the judge, which you guys both have talked about already, between the judge and the prison seems like where this problem is coming from.
No,
Well,
I think it's deeper than that. But go ahead, Free, and then I'm gonna go.
Yeah, I think you need to take any variables out of it. If
Okay.
first degree murder is a life sentence, it's a life sentence for a white guy, it's a life sentence for a black guy, it's a life sentence if you're 18, it's a life sentence if you're 78. You know, we need to take all of that out of there. Everything, you know, if we have first degree murder, second degree murder, you know, manslaughter, if we have all of those, then just say the sentence is this. If more than one sentence is appropriate, split it up more, make it fifth degree murder, sixth degree murder, seventh degree murder. The sentence should fit the crime in all circumstances. It shouldn't matter if you're, you know, as cute as Cash is or as ugly as I am. It shouldn't matter. It should just be, you know, you did the crime. I have no say in this at all. You get this sentence. You go to this place for this amount of time. You're housed in this unit because you're violent. You know, it shouldn't, there should be no judicial discretion. If it's a crime, it's a crime. If it's a sentence, it's a sentence.
But that still doesn't solve the problem that you were talking about innocent people getting incarcerated. Because they're still, what if that person is innocent and that still they're getting that punishment? So you can never account. This is the thing. See, I took 2 college courses when I was incarcerated for anthropology, right? And it really made me dig deep into like society and the cultures and, you know, what makes them tick. What do they do? Why do they do what they do? And how do things end up the way that they are, right? And that's why there's so many variables. Well, allegedly, you know, with these judges when they sentence somebody. Like you'll have some judges that are super empathetic towards the person that they're about to sentence. They're very empathetic because they understand when they read that sentencing report or that the probation comes up with, right? They read that report and they're like, wow, you know, you've been through some trauma. You have to talk to this person before you get sentenced, far before you get sentenced, and tell them all about your life. And then they read that and they're like, how much of this is true, right? So then they put in there what they think is true. And then they get it to the judge, and it's on the judge to determine if he's going to believe it or not. And then when he believes it or if he doesn't believe it, he renders his judgment. You know, so that's the system that we're in right now. So in that, you have some people that are too soft on crime, and then you have some people that are too hard on crime. Sure. So I get what you mean. I'm all for that. I like that. If you did the crime, then you're getting this. This is it. Period. I love that. I think that that's beautiful. I would go with that one too. I was spitballing ideas about what I would do. Don't ever let me be in charge, because if I'm in charge, I'm telling you, I'm making a suicide squad. That's just me.
Well, you know, here's another example. The guy that was just executed in Texas last year, he was originally in jail for armed robbery. He was not the trigger man. Nobody was shot or killed in it. The gun never went off. He got 80 years. So he was a black dude, got a harsher sentence than pretty much any other armed robbery that entire year. And then while he was in there, he got worse. He ended up killing an employee of the prison, got the death penalty, was put to death. So kind of the idea of you're talking about, they go in there and they get worse, not better, right? Mm-hmm. But you know, one of my major problems with the way laws are written and having so many laws and so many regulations is I think politicians and lawmakers are lazy. And I think that they're like, I want to go home for Christmas. And, you know, if we vote on this today, I can make the last flight and I could be on the golf course tomorrow or whatever it is. And, you know, I think the laws need to be written better, more specific. if you're going to have armed robbery, it should have all of it listed out. Was anyone hurt? Did the gun discharge? All of that should be listed out, and all of that should be part of both the law and the punishment, right? So you're talking about innocence. If those were better codified and the judge had less discretion to say, well, I looked him in the eyes and he looked like a bad dude, like less people would get sentenced, less people would get found guilty, and you'd get rid of some of that. I'm not saying that that's like a magic wand, but it's at least part of the problem.
Yeah, but again, right, when you talk about these systems, right, why is it with lawmakers, you say you got a problem with the way that the lawmakers are, you feel like they're lazy, and I feel that, right? I feel like the system that is implemented is lazy, because you'll pay to house somebody to make a license plate, or to make a light bulb, or to make a mattress, right? Or fight fires while you're getting paid for it. Whatever company that you're doing this through that's offering the job is paying this person 23 cents an hour. Yeah. Okay, 23 cents an hour to create a product that they're going to make maybe 500, 600 times the amount of money that it costs to make it. Why not invest that into these people that are, I'm using nonviolent. I'm not talking about murderers and all that. That's a whole nother thing for me. Suicide Squad. I'm talking about drug dealers, people that manufacture, drugs and sell drugs, and them kind of people that got a mind. So you're a hustler. Okay, we're going to send you to this business. We're sending you here to this prison because this prison creates good businessmen, or you're good with numbers. We're going to have you learn about stock or whatever, to rehabilitate their mind and tell them you can apply everything that you know here into this. Oh, you like chemistry? Okay, well, here, we're going to put you in this prison where they focus on building rocket ships. It's Elon's prison for criminals that are turning into astronauts, you know what I'm saying? Or rocket makers, or whatever the case is. And have them contribute to society in a better way, where it's not about this person that owns stake in this prison or owns this to make some money. No, we are making minds better so we can further advance our society. Sure. That's my angle. That's what I want to see happen, because there's so many people that have studied while they're inside of there that have to stop their study to go to a job, because if you don't have a job, you get a shot, which equates to you losing good time and having to stay in prison longer. So you got to go and work for this company and make 23 cents an hour doing absolutely garbage work. You know what I'm saying? You have no choice. You're not picking up a new trade. Who's going to come home and want to put this little thing inside of a light bulb and pass it down the assembly line so they could put this next little thing into this light bulb? And then you're not learning anything. You're not incentivized. They took college out of there. You could take the college course, but you don't get a credit. You're stopping the advancement of society, of people that are excited once they go through some of these. I was very excited when I passed Anthropology 101 and then Advanced Anthropology. I was excited when I got my certificates. I'm like, yo, I learned something new. I learned how to study, different places, different cultures and civilizations, and look into it into a deep way of why they do what they do. I learned a lot. And I was excited, but I couldn't do nothing with it. It's not accredited. I just did it because I wanted to learn. We need to do something more to advance our society. If we're talking about criminals that did atrocious crimes, now that should be something totally different. You've already lost it, because like you said, in our society, if you did this crime, this is what's going to happen to you. I don't think that it should be the death penalty ever, because what if somebody can be presumed innocent later? I don't believe in a death penalty. I believe, okay, if you got to go there and it gets proven that you're innocent later on down the road, we're going to compensate you for the time that you lost, and you get back out there and hopefully you do good. That's me.
One, if you haven't watched it yet, I think I've suggested it before to you, Cash, but if you haven't watched it, there's a documentary called Toe Tag Parole: To Live and Die on Yard A. And it's all about like this special unit they made in California for lifers, people that are going to die in prison, but the majority of them seem to have committed crimes when they were teenagers or in their 20s. They were in the system for 20 years, good behavior, all of that. They get put on this certain unit where they have more freedom. They're still locked up forever, but they can play music. They have sports. They have, activities they can do. They have very, it seems like they have a lot of NA meetings and groups where they can get together. There was a veterans group that met and talked about their problems. And, so people that made mistakes when they were younger, that were probably, eligible for the death penalty too, if it wasn't California and they didn't have the moratorium on it, but years later when they were my age, they'd been through the system and they'd, behaved and all of that. And they, got to live out the rest of their life in a more peaceful place than in, a lockdown, hard unit or whatever, because they earned it and they could, learn skills and paint and do music and things like that. I just thought it was an interesting take on the prison system. And I wanted to address a couple comments real quick too. Someone said that, you're not thinking about the trauma of somebody that had the gun pointed in their face in the robbery. But in fact, I am, because I'm saying if you codify that, they had a gun is a different penalty than they didn't have a gun. Just codify that. Say that causes trauma. We want to add X amount of time based on that, but don't give the judicial discretion of a guy to say, well, it's more traumatizing because a black guy held a gun in his face than if it was a cute white girl that held the gun in his face, right? And then somebody said something about deterring crime. Every study they've ever done that I've ever seen has said sentences and mandatory minimums deter no crime at all. Like, especially young people don't know what the sentences are and what the mandatory minimums are and all of that. The lawmakers don't even know what they are. I've found many times where they quoted the lawmaker and he didn't even know what the penalty was for the law they just passed.
But again, this is why these things need to be taught. Parents need to be teaching their kids about the consequences of their actions. And even in the schools, that should be a class, a subject in class. Like, yo, if you commit crime in our country, these are the punishments. And it needs to be taught. Like,
they can't even teach them how to read, Cash.
In some schools, come on. My kid's school is fantastic.
This isn't,
they're doing great.
Beverly Hills High School is not the school to prison pipeline we're talking about. Let's be honest. You know me, man. Like I get you. I understand what you mean. I'm a friend of the black community. Nobody spends more time than me talking about, judicial reform and how they've screwed the blacks on that. You're right. They're not teaching them how to read. There's, the parents of these kids, went, let them down way before they ended up in prison. They weren't sitting them down teaching them anything, let alone what the mandatory minimum on a armed robbery was, right?
Sure.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I mean, I get what you're saying, bro, but I'm saying a lot of this stuff does start at home, man. My kids, because of the life that I lived before, not one of my children, thank God, have joined the gang. One of them thought about it and I got on him. I got on him heavy. You know what I'm saying? And he ended up not joining. He's actually going to be going to the military, and I'm proud of him. You know what I'm saying? But it starts at home.
Out of joining a gang.
yeah. But no, real talk, man. It's like all of this stuff that we're talking about is really, really good to talk about, and it's important issues. But a lot of it has to start at home, and this all goes back in full circle to creating a better society. We have to create a better society. When they're locking people up and just leaving them to rot in these places where they take them for being a drug addict and lock them up in prison where there's more drugs than anything. Like there's way more drugs in prison than there is in the community. And that's a fact. You know what I'm saying? And
you're going exactly where I was going to go, where to tie it back to my most important issue, it's the economy, right? Let's make it easier for parents to own a business and spend more time with their kids. That's how they're going to make a better impact on their kids' lives. Working 3 jobs for minimum wage to make ends meet isn't doing anything for the family unit. It's not making their lives any better. They're not enjoying their lives. They're not, having the resources to raise their kids in the best way possible, to put them in the best educational situations. Let's fix the economy so more people can own businesses, be entrepreneurs, or even just have a simple job that pays their bills. If you want to do a simple job like, pushing a mop or, picking fruit or whatever, that should pay the bills too, right? Like we've got so many people that are, they come out of school in debt and they buy an expensive car and, whatever. And like they spend their whole life in debt. If we fix the economy, everybody's lives get better. The economy is colorblind, right? A black person could start a business, a white person could start a business. Tax brackets aren't racist, get rid of all of the taxes and the burdens that we put on the working class and allow them to make better lives for themselves.
I heard that. I feel you. So this comment say not a jail island unless they grow it. Yo, the last time they thought to send people to an island that they thought was an island as a prison, they created a whole nation called Australia. And there's some tough people in Australia. Let me tell you, they fighting kangaroos and alligators and all types of stuff. So I don't want to put nobody on an island. They might come back as a very strong power in the world. But no, man,
Australia is not powerful. Get out of here with that.
The people are. I know some Australians, bro. They strong.
Why?
They strong, man. They some strong people. I love Australia. I can't never go there now.
That country is taken over by China as soon as the next World War starts. They have no guns. Zero.
They got kangaroos.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody I work with, and they actually live in New Zealand. When are you going to come here? You can come live here. And I'm like, you live in a beautiful country, but I love my guns. I'm not living in your country. I'll come and visit, but I'm not living in your country.
I might. It's a fair trade. You give up your guns and we give you Vegemite.
All right, let's tie this all back to Trump a little bit with what we were just watching. What do you guys think? I'm a little bitter. I hate this mainstream media stuff that they cut it. It's like, just deploy the whole thing, get rid of the commercials. Let's see it. But what do you guys think of the show? What was the interview tonight? Like, what do you guys think about it?
Talk about transparency. Every interview with a public official, they should release the raw footage on whitehouse.gov or congress.gov or whatever, and just allow you to watch it and not take you off of YouTube if you stream it.
Yeah. I thought it was a great interview.
Go ahead, Cash. Sorry.
Oh, I thought it was a great interview. Overall, I thought it was pretty good. I like how Trump was checking Hannity, and saying what he wanted to say and staying on an issue that he felt needed to be talked about. I like how he be calling people's names out. That's always great, putting people on blast. So yeah. And Jim Bob is exactly right. There are more guns in Australia now than there was before the ban, and that's a fact. And that's the same thing, ironically, even with Chicago. Same thing with Chicago. It doesn't matter about how many laws you make against guns in Chicago. They pop out with stuff that you ain't even seen in the military. It's a fact.
I don't disagree with you on that. But when a country is willingly turning over their guns, I'm not going to be there. I don't think you're going to be able to defend yourself against another country. Hence why we defend Canada.
Well, in places like that, we'll outlaw 3D printers because you can 3D print a gun.
Correct. But I love the whole thing, everything tonight. I thought it was great. I don't like mainstream media doing it. And a little bit of what you touched on, Free. One of the things that we got to start demanding from our government is we should be able to, as an independent media, anybody, even a nobody on social media, should be able to go and pull up any interview by any politician and put it out there and not be restricted, because that is fair use. That is 100% fair use of that content, because we are talking about elected representatives of the people.
We pay their salaries.
Yeah, and so we shouldn't be restricted on social media like this. Everybody talks about social media and the restrictions and stuff like that. This is one that never is talked about. We are restricted from actually broadcasting and getting the information out there to the people about these politicians, any of them. It should be fair use to get it out.
I mean, I don't think it's restricted, is it? I think it's only restricted if you use a
down
network.
For the inauguration.
Yeah, but we were using somebody else's network.
That should be fair use. They limit the number of cameras to go in there, and
they can
be able
make
to
deals. They can make deals like when they do like a special event, right? Like if they were doing something where if they were doing something where, it's a special announcement or something and they can't put, 50 networks cameras all in there, they make a deal that says there's one camera that'll have a feed with no logo or anything like that. And then everybody can use that feed, right? So like
about to
that should
petition for
always
that.
be the deal.
I agree.
If Fox makes a deal to interview Trump, you should have access to that because Trump is a public employee.
Yep. Yeah.
A poorly
I'm about to
paid
make
one.
that. I'm about
by
to
his
make that a
choice,
trend right now, bro. I'm about to create a video saying just that. Real talk, and try to tag everybody and tell them to share this out until Trump sees it.
No one talks about it. Social media restricts that. And that's an important thing we need to get out there.
That's
Because
kind
that's
of a
how
genius,
mainstream
Casey.
media is keeping
Yeah.
us, independent people, from growing, right?
Yeah, that was really, really good, Casey. That was dope. Now, if only I can get you to start editing your content and creating reels, you would have went viral right now just off of that.
I'm right here. We're talking to 1,200 people, so I'm.
You know what?
Share
I'm gonna
this
do
video.
It. Where are
Share
we at?
this out there. Everybody can watch it. Share it.
1 hour and 50 minutes, and you said that I'm gonna go back to about 1:45. I'm about to take that clip and I'm about to turn it into a reel.
Do it.
That's
Do
what
it.
I'm gonna do.
Anybody got some final words? I think we covered it.
No, I think we're
Until
good,
the
bro.
next
This was
show.
a really, really good conversation. I love these kind of conversations, and we were able to have them. That's the good part, without the nastiness that would happen if it was, people that were at odds with each other and didn't just love their country and want their country to have some of their ideas because they felt that they were great. And that's what makes our country great. And this is what makes American society great. This is what having a conversation, we don't all agree. We do not all agree, but we had a conversation. We talked about it without being nasty to each other. That's what we need to get to. America, do you hear me? This is the way that grown men have conversations. This is how we converse with one another. Take note.
Agreed. Free?
In your reel, can you point out that I said it first and that I'm not anti-TikTok?
I got you. I'm going to put that right above your head. Not anti-TikTok.
I am anti-TikTok. But
I'm
guess
not
what?
anti-TikTok. I like
Guess
TikTok.
what?
I'm working on a TikTok dance, but they all keep getting vetoed by Mini Free. So
Free, can
you
I
can't
break
do
the news
TikTok
to you?
dances, though.
You're white. You can't dance.
No, it's not that. It's not that.
I prefer
Hemphill-
sun-kissed. I'm sun-kissed honky.
Pam Hemphill has all the videos of dancing, bro. You can't infringe on her territory. You'll get a copyright strike.
What's the J6 fundraiser? Which one?
I have no idea. Look, I don't listen. Okay. I don't put up the J6 fundraisers because some of them are not for J6ers. And I'm just gonna leave that there. It's got the name, but you got to do your research. That's all I'm gonna say.
And I'll back that up. We had this conversation pre-show.
Yeah.
And I know where that's coming from, and that's from last night, but it's enough. But we need to be cautious. One thing that I do like, Kenny shared it out when you guys all dropped off on just after the pardon, and that was the J6 rebuild, where they're putting tiny homes in a bunch of places for is it J6 rebuild? No, J6 Road Home.
That's
that
dope.
one,
You could share that.
Yep, that one, J6 Road Home, is one that is confirmed through people that we know is definitely going to go to the right people and support everybody. So do that one, J6 Road Home, and we'll just keep going with it. But I will continue to say, and I was waiting for this statement, you still don't trust the government. You don't.
Never
the government
trust the government.
is the problem.
The government is the problem.
Correct. So I will always say that.
I will always say that. Don't.
But anyways, on that note, Cash, you want to send us out?
There's an echo in here, huh?
Is there? It's
Hey,
probably me.
No, it was me. I was literally repeating everything you said.
Oh,
Put
sorry.
my comment up.
Freeze comment. There you go.
Yeah, J6 Road Home. That one we know of.
Scientific libertarian. I love his comments, bro.
He's hilarious.
I love
He's
all
the
his
absolute
comments. I've
best.
never read a comment of his I didn't like. It's so good.
Well, she was locked up. She got the jab. So
Was he
Hey, I got
on
the
when you
jab.
were on the game show? Did he skewer you?
Yeah,
Because he
he
just
did.
absolutely destroys people.
Yeah, he did. He did. He got me a couple times really good. So that's nice.
he's hilarious.
He's like he's in like a deer stand, like 1,000 miles away from the game show, just taking people out.
Yeah, that's nice.
while
Everybody
eating
on
pineapple.
Facebook, that is the correct link that I posted. Is pinned at the top. It's the comment that you see on Facebook. That is the correct site for the sponsorship of the kids for the YMCA with Streetlights Unity Movement. If anybody's interested in that, I will be sharing the link again on X for all of you all over there. YouTube, I don't know how to do it exactly. You know what? I'll figure it out tonight. I'll put it up. Well, by tomorrow. It'll be up by tomorrow. I'll figure out how to do it. Make a post maybe in my community notes so you guys can see it. And I appreciate everybody for tuning in. If you guys haven't followed Casey American versus Gov on X and his YouTube and Facebook, give him a follow. Free also. Freedom for us for all. Yeah, Freedom for us for all on X. Give him a follow, man. This brother be putting out some amazing content. If you haven't seen his game show, then you need to watch. It is so fun. I even was on it. And I won, by the way. I won that game show. The government did not win that night. And yeah, if you're not following me, then what are you doing? You need to be. You need to be following me. You know why? Because I'm the Black J Sixer. No, that's not really why you need to follow me. You need to follow me because I try to put out some good content, man, and keep you guys informed the best way that I can, and also love God with all of my heart. You know what I'm saying? Praise Jesus. And this is the way I support my family. So when you give me a view, it gives me some dollars. I appreciate you.
And you're one of my favorite visionaries, Cash.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate that. You're one of my favorite moderators of all time.
Thank you.
Oh, jeez.
Casey, you're my favorite technician. No one's smarter than you when it comes to computers. He taught me how to hack. I can find your IP address now if I really want to.
Doesn't get you very far, but sure. All right, everybody.
Man, that being said, you guys have a great night. God bless you. Unite. Don't fight. Be a street light is only you can be the change you wish to see in the world. And when you get too stressed out, you got to remember to pray, America, because without God, everything falls apart. That's a fact. And even though we got pardoned, I want to ask you a question before you hit that button to end this stream. We were pardoned by Donald J. Trump as J6ers, but have you been pardoned by the only one true God for your sins? If you haven't, then start a relationship today with Jesus Christ and accept the Holy Spirit into your life.